First and foremost, what is it like being a dad?
You know, it's funny. I've been a father for 10 years. I'm 40. So I almost don't remember what it was like not being a dad. Because I think like the level of responsibility ramps up so high. I have 3 kids. They're 6, 7, and 10. I just think that being a dad for me has really just made me a better person.
What 3 values do you want to pass on to your kids?
The things that always come to mind for me that my father was big on is integrity. Like, be a person of your word. And living in a world where there's so many people who don't follow through on what they're going to say, particularly dads and mothers too, but so many parents in general will often tell their kids they're going to do something, whether it's punishing them, whether it's come pick them up, do something with them. They don't do it. They don't tell the kid they're not going to do it. They just figure, oh, they're just a kid, they'll get over it. And they become, you know, adult members of society that, you know, lack integrity and follow through. That's a huge one. The other one is build your own generator, so when they turn off the power, you still have lights. So I'm talking to my kids about being self-sufficient. My oldest, she got into a little scuffle with a girl at school. I had her write a piece on accountability. And then there was another situation where she was being selfish. I had her write about being selfish or being considerate. And so where one, she looked at it like, you know, I don't feel like writing. But I was like, okay, one, you're going to practice writing. This is now your intellectual property. And when you keep getting in trouble and you keep writing, maybe we'll compile it into a book. Those kind of values about being a person of your word, being accountable, and understanding that through any situation, you know, you can see that you can create value out of it.
Sure.
You know, whether it's a life lesson or actually monetary value.
What is the funnest experience that you can remember with your children?
And there's so many, but my son again has just been killing me. Recently, I have my truck parked and the back door open, and he just starts like limbering up, like, yeah, like, but he's like this big. Like, what's this kid about? And he just runs and like cannonballs into the back of the car. For me, that was hilarious. It might not be funny for you, but for me, it was a moment that I was just like, this little boy kills me. There's so many, but that was one. That just happened like a week ago.
What is the scariest experience that you can like ever remember with your kids?
I was feeding my daughter once, and I had her on her back, and she burped, and it came up like a geyser and covered her whole face, all of her formula. That was scary, but I was a new dad. I realized, you know, well, you really shouldn't leave them down like that when you're feeding them, and they can throw up and choke. But my son, I was driving with 3 kids in the back. My oldest was on the right side by the passenger. My son was right behind me, middle child in the middle. And he was eating a canepa, which is a Latin fruit. It's almost like a small lime. It looks like a lime, but it's mostly seed with some fleshy fruit. And you pop them in your mouth and you suck on them. And while I'm driving, I don't know if I looked in the rear, I don't know how I did this, but I turned around while I'm driving. She hit him in the back and caught the canepa seed. Like he was choking while I'm driving. I asked my daughter, I was like, well, how did you know to do that? She goes, Disney Channel.
What is the most meaningful thing that you want your kids to understand about you being in the business?
I think the most meaningful thing for me is that from an acting standpoint, that it is actually a noble profession. You know, I started acting at I was 4 years old when I saw Alice in Wonderland, and it was that joy that was drummed up just from seeing this production. And so that they have that appreciation for the art itself and what it means to be an artist and what it means to use your body as an instrument and express yourself. But the other thing is service. I think there's no greater joy I get than using celebrity, and I did this before I was, you know, more famous than before. I'm big on service and just, you know, making the world a better place. You know what I mean? And teaching them that they have a responsibility toward that end. And it starts with small stuff around the house.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, you know, at one point, one of my daughters, my oldest one, was like, I want to be famous. And I was like, why? Like, what's that about? Like, You know what I mean? Like, let's understand this. You're not just going to be famous to be famous. Like, but what's your contribution? That's just my trip. Everyone doesn't feel that way, but I definitely feel that my opportunities that I have are the result of service.
If your children wanted to become involved in the entertainment industry, would you support that?
Well, you know, my father had me working at an early age. I worked since I was 8 years old. You know, as long as he's comfortable.
Right.
You know, it can't be all heady. Like for him, he's just hanging out, taking pictures. And so we were watching TV the other day. The commercial came on. He said, I know that girl. Some little girl in the commercial that he works with a lot, or has worked with a few times. And he made a comment like, yeah, you know, I didn't get that commercial because I wasn't good enough. I was like, so I had to break that down. Like, don't you ever talk about you weren't good enough, and help him understand that, particularly in this business of entertainment, when it's yours, it's yours. There's no way around that. Like, when it's not yours, it's not yours. So whatever their reason is has nothing to do with who you are, especially at 5. You know, you can create your opportunities, and so that's, I think, a value that my kids they don't fully understand it, but they see it, and they see the results of it.
So like, having your kids being involved in the entertainment industry, how do you protect them?
I was at City Walk in Universal City, and I ran into Sinbad and we're talking, and some people tried to get autographs, and he was like, I'm with my kids right now. I was like, write that one down.
Right.
That one. And then Gregory Hines, you know, he was great at always just smiling at people, acknowledging them, giving them love, and keeping it moving. Like, love you, babe, and keeping it moving. You know what I mean? When you're dealing with the public. And, you know, I remember when my oldest daughter was about 4, we were down by the South Street Seaport in New York. We were looking at ships. People keep coming up wanting to take pictures. And she looks at me and goes, Dad, why does everybody like you? You know what I mean? Right. And then, you know, she asked, like, what are autograms? People keep wanting your autogram. So, and then at one point she got upset. So, I would, you know, people came up to you and I'd say, I'm sorry, I'm with my daughter. And then at some point it switched again. And she's like, no, Dad, it's cool. You can give him your autograph. This is Malik Yoba, and you heard it first on HollywoodDad.com.